Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this afternoon session about accelerated local financial close. So we are happy to have two speakers here in that presentation, which is Mr. Belfontaine from Bayer Business Services and a colleague from SAP, which is Ralf Schöpfer. Ralf is a Director of Business Development and he will open the presentation. So please welcome on stage Ralf Schöpfer.
Thank you, Jens. Well, a session about accelerating financial close, the local close. You might ask yourself, is that necessary? We are doing that for years, for decades. The question is this one of your best run processes? Welcome to this session about the accelerated financial close. I hope you had a fantastic beginning of the day. Now it's up to us to top that. And us means my colleague, Dirk Belfontaine. Dirk, join me, please, here on stage.
Hello.
Hi, thanks.
Hello, Ralf.
And thanks for, sharing some insights. Maybe one word about you as a person?
Yes, my name is Dirk Belfontaine. I'm working for Bayer Business Services for about 10 years now. My department is responsible for SAP support in the area of finance and accounting. And the team I'm working in is called Accounting, Controlling and Closing. And closing is the keyword for the next 20 minutes. This is my daily regular job. Besides, I'm the project lead of an internal R&D project. This project is called SAP Financial Closing Cockpit and its automation component.
Thank you. To complete that, my name is Ralf Schöpfer. Jens mentioned that. I'm belonging to a business development organization taking care about all financial solutions within the EMEA and India region. As said, today we are going to talk a little bit about the SAP Financial Closing Cockpit plus its automation component. We will set the scene. We will provide some insights about the solution. We will talk about the outcome. And last but not least, we will have a discussion. With that, I'd like to get started with the setting. Maybe the question, what was the motivation for Bayer?
Okay, let me start with some words about Bayer. Bayer consists of 3 business units: Bayer Material Science, Bayer Crop Science, and Bayer Healthcare. And besides, we have 3 service units. One of them is Bayer Business Services, the company which I'm working for. And Bayer Business Services provides IT services for the Bayer Group on the one hand, and on the other hand, Bayer Business Services provides accounting services. And these accounting services are provided by so-called shared service centers. They are located in Barcelona and in Leverkusen. Examples for these shared services are accounts payable on the one hand, and on the other hand, we provide a closing service. Yes, the key challenges of our closing process are, on the one hand, we are dealing with about 100 legal entities. We have a very high degree of automation. We are talking about 15,000 jobs, and 90% of them are closing relevant. And the jobs are really complex. We have successors, predecessors, dependencies, etc. And our motivation, why did we investigate SAP Financial Closing Cockpit? The first thing was that we were asked by projects in the Bayer Group, why don't we use Financial Closing Cockpit? It's SAP standard. Another motivation was that we have had some pain points with our current scheduling tool. A third point is that we have legal entities rolling into the global systems, and some of them do not want to use the service of our shared service center. They want to perform the closing on their own, and it's our task to make them able to do the closing. These are the key motivations for investigating Financial Closing Cockpit. What you see here is an Excel sheet. This is the basis for most of our closing activities. We have Excel sheets in our shared service centers. We have them in the legal entities. And last but not least, we have Excel sheets in our support units. On these Excel sheets, you can find information about persons in charge, about the scheduling, when does a task have to be performed, and about dependencies. For example, step 27 has about 5 predecessors. And the people who are dealing with these Excel sheets, how do they communicate? They use telephone, they use chat tools, they use email, and they use databases. Okay. And let me start at the bottom of this slide. There you can see we have a very heterogeneous system landscape, and most of the systems are producing closing relevant data. Each buyer group has his own ERP system, which is connected to BI systems who are dealing with consolidation issues, and we have special systems which are only responsible for these automation tasks. In the middle, you can see the network of business processes. These processes are not yet integrated because of the heterogeneous system landscape below. The processes are disrupted because people have to perform manual tasks in between. They have to check results of the closing. We have a lot of manual handovers. Colleagues have to contact each other by phone that some step is finished and another one could start. And we have lots of interfaces between the processes and between the systems which are involved. For example, interface to our external scheduling tool. On top, you can see the people who are involved in the closing process. They are located all over the globe in different countries, in different time zones, with different languages. They perform transactional activities. They have to open periods. They have to block cost centers, etc. And they use email, chat tools, databases, and the phone for their communication. And all their detailed experience and all their know-how is in their brains. And as a consequence of that, we do not have a real overall view about the processes and status information as buyer would need.
Okay, thank you. And if we get in touch with our customers and got a feedback regarding their financial close, their local close aspects, we see independently to whom we are talking a lot of challenges. So the red colors here should provide the message. It's not that easy. It's not an end-to-end process. There is a lot of manual activities. And if we try to categorize all those feedbacks we receive, we see it's always about compliance, transparency, and efficiency. So these are the key main aspects which are not as perfect as they should be in regards to the financial close. With that, we'd like to hand over or come to the solution itself to show some insights in the solution. As you can see, the financial closing cockpit is taking care about the local close, starting from the preparation of the close until the submission of the data for consolidation purposes with a rather decreasing footprint, and embedded in the overall group close concept, you can see there is an option to provide somehow the global plan for the whole group. So the SAP Financial Closing Cockpit can be expanded in that direction to cover that, to make sure we have one plan for all legal entities. And also on the top, there's a capability to enlarge a little bit the scope regarding the consolidation activities, somehow depending on the systems which are used for consolidation purposes. And also from a corporate perspective, very important that the headquarters are able to see where are all my legal entities in the current process. Can I expect that they will deliver the data by our due date? So not just waiting until that date, but having the transparency on where they are in the closing process. From a conceptual point of view about the solution, this is pretty much looking like a project plan. From a planning perspective, there is a template which is the collection of all closing related activities.
Okay. On the left-hand side of this screenshot, you can see a folder structure. This folder structure is the basis for the closing activities. This folder structure is very flexible. It is comparable with Windows folders, and in our research and development project, we tried different approaches to use this folder structure. For example, in our first attempt, we have had on a very high level of these folders the SAP modules. Another example for the first level of the folder structure is the working day during closing, -2, -1, etc. And a third folder structure we have tried in our project was to differentiate between system-wide activities and activities related to the legal entity. It is very flexible. You can use it based on your preferences and based on your best practices. Other information which has to be customized in the planning phase are the persons who are involved in the closing. They can be added for each task, and you can customize the time-based information, the start and end time of the task. And another thing you can add here is the dependency information between closing tasks. That does not mean that you only can add dependency information between automation steps. That would be quite normal. You can also add dependency information between manual tasks, or another example, between a manual task on the one hand and an automation step on the other hand. And this is very important, and I come back to this point later on. Within this folder structure, or within each folder, you have the concrete closing tasks, and each closing task can be assigned to a closing type, for example, month-end closing, quarter-end closing, or year-end closing. And nevertheless, you only have to customize one template, and if you create a concrete closing plan for a concrete closing, only the relevant tasks will be transferred to the concrete closing plan.
Okay, so and this is here the idea. So from the template for a specific closing cycle, there will be created a copy, which is then called task list, with only, as Dirk mentioned, only those activities which are assigned or has been assigned to that specific closing cycle. Meaning, for month-end closing, only the activities having the flag relevant for month-end closing will be copied. So this is a subset and helps to execute on the closing itself.
Yes, on the execute screen you can see that there is a special user interface. It's a web user interface. This is not SAP graphic user interface. And one big advantage of this web-based interface is the traffic light system. You can see the status of each closing task directly by color, red, green, yellow traffic lights. So you have a direct overview where the task is at the moment. Another big advantage of this visualization is that you can very easily understand dependencies, because dependencies are marked with lines and arrows, and it's very easy to see which are the predecessors of a task. Is there only one, or is there 5 predecessors? Which are the successors, etc.
Okay, from a monitoring perspective, there are a couple of reports available, seeing the same structure, providing the same structure as maintained in the template, to see whether on a node is a green light. Then, of course, all the dedicated tasks being assigned to that node are also on green, so there no reason for deep dive analysis, and only to focus on the red one, saying that some activity not in schedule, and so I can drill down and find out very easily which is the relevant activity. Oh, sorry.
Yes, due to this drill down capability and the information of traffic lights on the nodes level, it's not necessary to scroll down, because you can be sure that everything below is green as well if the node on top is green. And this gives the opportunity to really concentrate on important things and on closing steps which are not okay at this moment.
Okay, and last but not least, there are a couple of reports available to see what has been planned initially, how long does it take, and then to see how long has it taken in reality, to get a better understanding of how to improve the plan.
Yes, and this analysis functionality is very important as well, especially in the beginning when you start with financial closing cockpit. Then here you can see where there is potential for optimization, where are inconsistencies, and as a result, with this analyzing tools, you can speed up the complete closing process.
Okay, and then, well, the new setup. You know that picture? We had that picture at the beginning. So from a resource perspective, of course, nothing has changed. The system landscape is still the same. What we did is to integrate a technical component, an automation component, to connect the resources with the business processes. And based on that technical component, we do have the ability to create end-to-end processes automatically from the very beginning until the very end. And this helps also then from a people perspective that all the information about the dedicated single activities will be reported into that SAP Financial Closing Cockpit. So the people being in charge for that process, they do have the one source of the truth. All of them are directly seeing where is my current status in my process over all my legal entities, over all dedicated process steps. And so this helps to overcome those system boundaries as we've seen with the process automation. This is the enabler to create process chains. And with the event-based capabilities, it's very important to understand that these process chains can interact with each other. So, for example, step A says, I have finished. Step B can start automatically. First thing, they can interact with the outside world, saying, step A has a problem. I'd like to inform a person being in charge for me with an SMS or an out exchange mail saying, there is a problem, maybe you will help me. And also they can interact with each other in regards to content. So the results of step A can parameterize the processing for step B. For example, if the account is 0, next step. If the account is not 0 but below 500 euros, doesn't care. Make an automatic posting to any other account just to proceed that specific important process. And if the amount is below 500 euro, stop here, create the mail to the person being in charge for that account, inform them there's something wrong, somebody forgot anything, please take care about that. All the process automation is set to stop. That person has to fix it, and based on that, the process can start. From those activities or challenges, which is the most important one, Dirk?
I would say everything you have mentioned is important for us. But if I have to nominate one as the most important one, I would say it's the event-based scheduling, because here you can really realize a big increase of efficiency. And maybe even more important is that you can disburden workload from the subject matter experts regarding transactional activities. Let me give you one example for this event-based scheduling. If you only consider one process, for example, product costing or inventory valuation, for these 100 legal entities I mentioned in the beginning, for one quarter-end closing, only for this case we have about 150 events which have to be released. And an event release in our group means that somebody has to type that into a database, and another person has to read this information and goes to the scheduling system and releases the event. And if you multiply that 150 events with this 100 for these 100 companies and 20 minutes per event, you come to a saving of 50 hours only resulting from this efficiency increase.
Okay, and that brings me directly to the outcome, as we are a little bit short of time, 25 seconds. Financial closing cockpit, maybe some of those activities?
Yes, usability, I just mentioned the web user interface, organization. With Financial Closing Cockpit, you are really able to harmonize templates from a global perspective. Accessibility, with Financial Closing Cockpit, you have only one source of truth where all closing relevant information is stored.
Okay, and to complete that, as we mentioned at the beginning, those three key pillars: compliance, everything is documented directly at the Financial Closing Cockpit. From a transparency perspective, you do see where all your legal entities are currently. And from an efficiency perspective, we talked about the event-based scheduling. And the important thing with the automation component, this is also possible for all remote activities. And with that, I'd like to, finalize more or less with a couple of case studies and numbers we received from early adoption projects. So closing time reduction up to 45%, audit cost reduction up to 20%, and also staffing levels up to 45%, of course, depending where we start. Maybe, which is the buyer thing you're interested in?
Yeah, I just mentioned the increase of efficiency because of this automated event release. And from a financial perspective, you can really speed up your decision making. You have more time for value-added analysis, and last but not least, you are able to answer quickly on ad hoc requests.
Okay, and also, some numbers from Hackett Group, one of the important, well-known analysts. For a 1 billion revenue organization, there is a saving potential of up to 5.5 million for the whole accelerated financial closing. So this should show there is still a lot of room for improvement. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your attendance. You know there is a discussion later on, starting at 3 p.m. in the discussion room 4. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the session, and I'm looking forward to meeting you again in the discussion room. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen.